evening, and welcome to Charismata 365. Charismata 365 means flowing in your grace gifts. And Charismata 365 is a space where ministry and business thrive. And during the month of March, we have been recognizing Women's History Month, and we are celebrating and recognizing women in business. On week 1, we recognize businesses that feed the body. And in session 2, we had businesses that feed the mind. Week 3, we had businesses that feed the spirit. And you will find each of these on Charismata 365 YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify pages. Tonight, we are so very excited. We are super excited because this week we are recognizing and celebrating women that water your business. We have a fabulous panel getting ready to come, and we know that if you utilize them, they are going to water your business and make it so much better and richer. So on tonight's panel, we have Angela Daniels. We have Val DeFord. We have Diane Hanna, and we have LaShonda Milner. So ladies, thank you so very much for being here. You all have been such an asset to me and what I do. And I thought it befitting that you are the ladies who have not only watered my business, but I want everyone else to have the privilege and the honor of allowing them to let their businesses flourish with the women that we have on tonight. So without further ado, we're getting ready to get started because I want them to hear everything that you have to offer for them and their business. And we want to celebrate you. So I'm going to start with the first question and go around, and then we're going to just dialogue on this evening. So now, would you tell me what your business name is, what your name is, and what is your business mission? So we're going to start with Angela Daniels.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Outlaw, for this opportunity. My business name is Global Virtual Solutions, Inc. And what we do is virtually connecting you to family, clients, conferences, and events. Of course, my name is Angela Daniels. I'm the CEO and owner of Global Virtual Solutions, Inc. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to have Ms. Val DeFord.
Thank you so much, Dr. Outlaw. It's my pleasure. I'm Val DeFord at valdeford.com. My business is an internationally run and internationally shared organization that right now is concentrating on decreasing infant and maternal mortality by making sure that women, especially African-American women, know what to do in order to have healthy babies and for them to live for that first critical year. My mission is, of course, to make sure that health is something that is simple to understand and to actualize. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane Hanna. You're muted.
Hello, and good afternoon, and thank you for having me, Dr. Outlaw. Again, my name is Diane Hanna. My company name is Regal that's my old company, Regal Consulting Group. And my company, my company help other business owners, especially veteran women, organize their business in order to be in position to get any funding and be recognized with the industry to run their business properly. My mission is to touch any and every business that contact me and to make sure that they are up and running with all the necessary paperwork so they can get any funding, any contract, or any grant that's available out there for any business, no matter the size. Thank you.
Thank you. And LaShonda Milner.
Good evening to all, and thank you, Dr. Outlaw, for having a vision to bring women together that's not only changing themselves, but also touching and changing others. And as my father always tells me, to remain a listener and a learner. So I'm excited to be on this platform to hear the stories and experiences of others, to learn to even make myself and my business better. So again, thank you. I'm LaShonda Milner again. I am representing two of my companies today. The first one is LaShonda M3, which our mission is to help men and women to become more marketable and noticeable in the workplace using transferable skills in the areas of appearance, behavior, and communication. And my second business, which is a 501c3 called Urban STEAM Foundation, we actually expose and share our to our scholars, our students, the arts by integrating that into a STEM platform. And what we're doing is trying to motivate and excite the experience of our students. So again, good to be here today to share both of my businesses.
Great. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. And I actually know that some of you have other businesses that you did not discuss. And please feel free in this space that you will discuss your other businesses as well, because those other businesses that you have water our businesses. So feel free to share as many businesses as you have on this evening. And so my next question that I would ask each of you is, what made you decide to start a business or businesses?
I'll go.
Okay.
So as you stated, we can share all of our businesses. I started out doing catering and event planning some over 20 plus years ago. Then from catering to event planning to decorating events. And so I did that for over 20 years and still do. The name of that business, of course, is Shots and Shows. And so I kind of dabbled with a lot of things, decorating, catering, event planning, dabbling in photography. Well, when the pandemic set in some 2+ years ago now, I decided that I would take my administrative skills and put them to the test. And what I ended up doing was providing support to a lot of corporations and companies, credit unions, and so forth and so on. I even went on and decided to get certified and be able to do Zoom. And so in that space, I was able to host and partner with a young lady and work with conferences and launching those platforms where there was vendors set up, and you were able to be in breakout rooms and things of that nature. So the word got out, and then the next thing I know, I was hosting other events that was happening in the city. And then being the voice behind the scenes. So oftentimes people just call up on me just to use my voice. They never see my face. So that's what got me started with Global Virtual Solution Inc. So from family reunions to church events to conferences to, as the mission says, connecting family, friends, clients, and events and conferences, I was able to launch Global Virtual Solution Inc. So January of next year will be 3 years that 3 years I will have been in this space. And it's been wonderful to just connect. Thank you.
Wow, well, that's wonderful. I always love it when we get into things and just move from our natural gifts into pouring into other people. For me, I never had any intention to be in business. I absolutely thought that my end goal in life would be lying on the beach writing Harlequin romances. And that may still happen. However, what happened in the meantime was that as a registered nurse and a public health expert, I was called upon by some people, especially in these last 2 years with the pandemic, to do some things to make sure that people know what's going on. But I first started a high-tech home health business where I was taking care of people with ventilators at home before that was commonplace at all. Also taking care of people who had HIV in the home when everyone was deathly afraid to be around people who had HIV. And that business lasted for a while. Then I moved to the Caribbean, where I started the first cardiac, stroke, and physical rehabilitation center. And that was important because many people were having heart attacks and strokes. And because I was living in St. Croix, in order for people to get the type of care that they needed, they had to be transported to either Florida or Puerto Rico or DC. And they would always be away from family. And as you know, it's so important if you have the opportunity to have your loved ones with you to help you in the healing process. And later, I moved back to the mainland after living through 5 named hurricanes. People say, why in the world did you leave the Caribbean? Well, because God tried to tell me 5 different times you need to leave. And I finally listened, and I got into education and ultimately consulting. And so now people think of me as a professional speaker, but what I do is I help use my voice to empower others to use their voices to make sure that they're healthier. And I've had the opportunity to work in 57 countries, and I have 57 to go.
Well, sorry, you can go ahead, LaShonda. Go ahead. Okay. My business started, believe it or not, I started in events as well in 2004. I was in the military. I got out of the military, and my last year in the military, I just knew that I wanted to be in business. My parents was in business. I grew up, I grew up where my parents was in business, so I saw business all my life. I got into the military. My last year in the military, all I can concentrate on was I want to start my own business. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And I jumped out there and started event planning and catering. And I winded up having a storefront and sold wedding dresses, tuxedos, did a whole lot of decoration. I did events all over Atlanta. But the economy, 2008, 2009, when the economy went down, I had to go back to corporate. So I went back to work to raise some capital, and capital is really important when you're trying to do business. If you don't have any capital, you may just be spinning your wheels. So nevertheless, I went back to work to raise some capital. And just before the pandemic started, I started noticing that a lot of veterans, I do a lot of things with veterans, are in business, but their business is more like a hustle. And I kept reminding them, you got to get this paperwork together. You got to do this. You got to get your business license. You got to make sure you have a business account and everything. And what happened? The pandemic hit. There was funding out there available for business owners, but some of them did not have what they needed. So guess what? They wasn't able to get the funding. And I see this in my culture, with men and women and veterans in my culture, that we just, fall short. We have businesses, our businesses feed our family, not only our family, 2 and 3 generations, but our business is more like a hustle because we don't have everything lined up. But that hustle, may make us $40,000, $50,000, or $80,000 a year, but the government don't recognize that because we're not properly set up. So that's my goal, to make sure that people understand that they do have to get properly set up with all the paperwork in order, so that they can be able to get the benefits that they need to help them with their business. Thank you.
Well, Valda, let me just say to her, I'll pack my bags whenever you head to the other 57. You got a travel buddy.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see. What is my short story of getting started? First, let me just be honest. My dad got me started in the retail business, and honestly, and I'm thankful. Honestly, I think what he did was to create a space for me to stay out of trouble. And so I happen to be blessed with that, though, because I've always liked clothing. I've always been very conscious of my image. And so having a boutique at the age of 16 and growing in, in an industry of having a business at that time, and totally supported by a family, almost like what Diane said, a family of business. A lot of my aunts and uncles, and of course my father, have been nothing but entrepreneurs. So I knew one day anyway, it's in my DNA to be an entrepreneur, and I've been there, been in that space for 38 years. Doing the same thing, but enhancing my business in different ways. Meaning, when my dad created the space of a boutique in Winston-Salem, started out in a 500 square foot store, then end up building more space into a 1,600 square foot store. I was learning along the way. Actually, 16 years old, I was guiding women that were 40 plus years old into creating their own unique image. And I went from there and created workshops. Then I started writing books about the power of presence. And now I'm speaking about the power of presence in the workplace. So again, still in the same arena, but finding ways to keep building my brand. So thank you, Dad, for just putting me in a space to stay out of trouble. My nonprofit, getting started with that, Urban Steam Foundation, was really a dream 5 years ago. And just to kind of share the funny side, I'm the only child, and I always wanted to be a teacher. That's what I thought. So I had my imaginary students when I was young, and teaching all kinds of subjects like I was the expert. But believe it or not, I think that just that dream and that play time really created where I am now. Again, it started 5 years ago as a dream, had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to impact children. And so I just started researching and doing what I needed to do in the nonprofit world, actually start volunteering a lot for other nonprofits, from my talents and from monetary aspect of it, and just fell in love with having a heart to help people in different areas. And it's so many things that we can do. So I just turned that thought and my big heart into a nonprofit.
Yes.
But thank you so much, ladies. And I'm sure that by now everyone sees why your businesses water other businesses. And I'm learning so much more about each of you in just that short introduction of time. And LaShonda, it's interesting, as much as we talk, that I didn't realize that you had imaginary students. I had imaginary students as well. And I'm an only child. So yes, so we all have this intersection. That's why we're all such good friends with one another. So now, ladies, let's talk about entry barriers. Talk to me about any entry barriers that you have endured in getting your businesses up and running.
If I can jump out there, I'll say that I may be different from many people in that it was never my idea to start a business. And there was always someone who was footing the bill in the beginning. My first two businesses, the first one, I had worked with the most profitable home care case in the country, when my friend, who was also a registered nurse, wanted me to go into partnership with her. And I did. But in the beginning, because I'm a registered nurse, I had the good fortune to do what was called a weekend option. So I worked 2 12-hour shifts on the weekend, and then I worked 5 days a week building the business. Now, at the end of the year, I was in the hospital because guess what? Even though it didn't feel like I needed money from somewhere else, I was trying to support my household as compared to running the business. So one of the biggest barriers can be having enough money. And I know that most women in the United States are not making more than $50,000, sometimes get to $80,000. However, that may not be enough to really uplift them as they are putting so much into running the business. So the biggest barrier can be that. My biggest barrier was trying to do too much, not having a network of people who I could get with and say, okay, I'm trying to do this. How can I do it without always reinventing the wheel or trying to make a wheel from sand? And I think that if we can do what we're doing today, pour into each other, watering each other's businesses, that will make all the difference, because I definitely felt like I had to do it on my own. Thankfully, I had a son who was my driver, who drove my nurses around for me. But other than that, it was pretty tough. I rarely got a chance to sleep more than 3 hours a day, and it took a toll on me.
Well, just like Ms. Ford said, not having capital and not having the experience in your industry, that's a big barrier. Many times people, with me, I just knew I wanted to go into business. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I just knew that, I couldn't continue to work for someone else. And I knew I wanted to go into business. So I just jumped out there, and I had some capital, but the capital didn't last because you just have to have, in, influx of money coming in, and not knowing properly how to market. I knew how to do the work. I knew how to get the products that I need, but I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about, turning the money over, to grow more money, investment. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that I wanted to be in business. So one of the things that I suggest, one of the questions that you asked, I'm getting ahead of myself. I suggest the industry inside and out, have capital. And if you don't have capital, have ability to get more money. So, you can partner up, but make sure that partner have some skin in the game as well. Because you can partner up with somebody and they don't have the skin in the game, and you left with all the skin and they run off, And skin in the game is money and investment.
Yeah, the other thing about that partnership really quickly is I do believe in that old saw that your business partner should be vetted even better than your spouse or your life partner, because I did run into some issues with that. Fortunately, I was able to survive them, but I can tell you that just because someone has a good idea and thinks that the two of you are a good fit, you need to do a little bit more investigation, see where they are, see what their credit rating is, see what their family members believe, if they believe that this is a good thing. Ours didn't come to a problem with money, but a question of the spouse feeling like I was getting too much of a business, that I should be an employee as compared to a partner. And so something that was going beautifully just almost dissipated because we hadn't really thought that would be an issue. But these are things that when other people who've been in business, they can help you understand those traps that may come up.
I agree with that too, Valda. Before I answer that, just to kind of piggyback, I do have a business partner. I have a custom clothing business. We've been partnered for 18 years in Charlotte. And I think one thing that has helped us, he's a male also, is that we involved the family. We got to know at that time I was married. And so, we understood each other. We knew, the perspectives of our partners, of our spouses, with our relationship as partners. So I think it is very important to understand not only your partner, but also who else is involved, their other support systems. So everybody can have a buy-in and know what's expected and the plans and the vision for the business. That is very important. Thank you.
Yes.
So my entry barriers were a little different. There were three, actually. The first one was just the fear of unknown, just being terrified of saying, okay, all right, I know I can do this, but being fearful of pushing my own self. I was in the way of my own self, and so I was fearful of the unknown. Didn't really know what I needed to do to get started. And I've learned over these couple years, just start somewhere, it's kind of like education. Don't matter how you start, it's how you end up. And so that was one. The other thing was, again, myself, getting in the way of myself, where I needed to separate relationships from business. And what do I mean by that is, I know you all concur when I say having a huge heart, and you want to be like, Oprah, you can do it for free. I'll give you this discount. You'll get one, And I had to realize that you have to start somewhere, and you have to set, and you do have to crawl sometimes before you walk. So don't ask for the pie in the sky, but set some type of fee structure so that you can move forward. In my case, get certified, and you got to take classes, and you always want to be a lifetime student so that you can always be innovative and be up next. So that was the second thing. And then the third one was trying to persuade people to share your information. You know, if you use my service, put me out there, and help with the marketing by just saying, hey, especially if it's complimentary, you know, out of me, because you got to start somewhere. But spread the wealth, share it, you know. So those are my entry barriers, but I'm overcoming them. Is sometimes where you make it up as you go. You learn from your mistakes. You do sometimes have to give to get, but give to get does not always mean FREE in the dollar and cents. You can do the bartering system sometimes, you know, to help you to help others as you watering other businesses. So that was my entry barriers. So that's it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for sharing that. And of course, with me being always in the finance arena, I'm always thinking that the entry barrier is money. But I'm, you know, learning in these sessions the past 4 weeks that most times it's, you know, sometimes it's the money, but not all times. Sometimes it is ourselves. And so that's why I think it's important that we as women and we as people, as, you know, overall, that we help one another. So if you see someone needing the help, then you help. And I know that the four of you, again, you were selected to be on this panel because I know each of you and I know that you are always willing to help. So again, I believe that people would be enhanced by utilizing your services, by just sitting down and having a conversation with you, that their businesses will be much richer. So thank you for sharing that. So now, if you could speak to your 18 or 20-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I'll start that. You know, actually during that time, I was in business. I started my business at 16. So just looking back at that, and going through college, I would say really leverage education. You know, don't get it and get gone. Like I heard Congressman Alma Adams say that one time. Don't get it and get gone. Get it and go back and get more. And I didn't do that, and so it took a little more of my brain to you know, continue to get certifications to keep my education going. So the younger self, I would have been better in, I guess, easier in learning. So sometimes I run into some challenges, but to keep myself updated in my industry, I have to keep myself educated. So going back, maybe really leveraging the education, going from graduating from college and going on. I didn't do that and regret that sometimes, but that's what I would have told myself then.
Well,
I
I think
certainly-
I would have, I think I would have told my younger self to travel. I think that one of the best things that has ever happened to me, being a poor young girl from the projects who was always told what she wasn't going to be able to do, where she wouldn't be going, and don't bother to go to school, that when I had the opportunity to travel outside of my physical space and also have to deal with different cultures, religions, languages, norms, I found that it made life here easier, because a lot of things that I would complain about here, I was like, child, we don't have a problem. I can just turn on the tap and get my water to run. I don't have to walk 5 miles with some buckets or hope that the water's clean or hope that there's no war nearby. So I think travel, I especially would like to see our young folks put their money aside that they're using on glamour, not taking away from your fashion business, but just take a moment and put some money aside and go somewhere and have another experience. Make sure you go to school, get that out of the way. If school is what you want, it's not for everyone, but do what we've been skirting around saying, realize that good enough now is the place to start. Just get started. Many times we think that 18-year-olds should know everything that they need to know for the rest of their lives, but their brains aren't even developed well enough to know how to stay out of trouble half the time. So do something, experience it, do it the best that you can, and as fully as you can. Face the fear and do it anyway. And you can always do a reset down the road. You can always decide that if you wanted to be, as I did, an astronaut or an astrophysicist, I guess I was stuck on the A's, but I was neither. I didn't think I would want to be a nurse because I thought I don't want to be doing any woman's work. I don't want to be standing on my feet all day. And nursing has been the thing that has opened up a career that I never would have thought. And now I earn more money from what I say versus physically laying hands on people, but I'm still able to help people have a better life. And that's what I want to do. But I didn't give myself the chance to do it right away, but I've been blessed beyond measure. And I wish more young people would just get out there and experience difference. And then they would have more patience and more savvy when it comes to the things that are going to come as problems later on.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Miss Daniel. Yeah, well, with me at 19 years old, I got married. So I would tell my 19-year-old self or my 20-year-old self to stay in college. Stay in college and, and continue your goal, no matter what. Complete your college, complete your education. And if you're deciding you are going to get into business, make sure you know the industry inside and out and never stop learning, because there's always a different trend. There's always another class. Somebody's always doing something better and different. And not that you have to compete with them, but you need to know the industry. And when the industry take a turn or pivot, you really, really need to know. But don't give up on yourself. If college is not what you would like to do, just learn your skill, just learn your craft in the industry that you need, that you are going to go in. And also, study money, learn how to make money, learn about money. Ms. Daniel mentioned that a lot of times, especially in event planning, and people don't have the money. Oh, I do it anyway because this is advertisement. But you'll do the advertisement and it'll go dead right after that customer, because people would not go and say, well, Miss Angela did this and come over to her shop. She have a nice shop. They will not do that. My nephew, when I started business, he told me, he was in business. He said, you have to decide, are you going to be a charity or are you going to be a business? And I always keep that with me. And I tell people that, you have to decide, are you going to give all your service away? And then you don't have anything for your family, or are you going to charge a price? And you got to stick with that. And you have to be able to earn the price that you are offering or selling your goods for. You have to be able to earn it. Your goods and service, earn it. That's why you have to go back to school to know your craft. Stay with your craft and, be an expert. You always be the expert. All right.
If I can jump in real quick, we talk about money, and Diane, I think you've hit some points. I learned very early to really being guided by a man, and they find it so very easy to ask for anything and ask for money. And I just feel like we have to put boundaries to what we call free or complimentary. Yes. And personally, from experience, again, I learned this organically, but coming out the gate from a business, I know we look at trying to give things free to get our business out there, but come out the gate and learn how to ask for, the amount of your service is worth. And you've already done research to know what prices are. Why give it away free? If you are confident in what you are doing, ask for what it's worth. So I just say, still put a boundary at what is free and what is complimentary, and come out the gate and ask for the price.
Yes.
If I had to talk to my younger self, it would be one, to recognize and listen to the elders of yesteryears, as they are the blueprint for your foundation of your life. The second thing I would say to my younger self is, don't be afraid of anything. When you discover what your niche is, go ahead, like LaShonda said, and do the research for it, and go ahead and come forth, manifest, and be good at what you do. Don't be afraid to start. The next thing I would do is always, as I said earlier, be a lifetime student, because no matter how great you become, you can always learn from Valda Ford, LaShonda Milner, as well as Diane Harris and Dr. Outlaw, who brought us here. But there's so many people in the community that you can glean from. Take notes, be a walking notepad and take notes, because what you learn, you can apply to your business. Hence, that's how I became Global Virtual Solutions. I was actually partnering with a person that's on this call, our leader, Dr. Michelle Outlaw, and she saw my worth and invited me into her world. In her world, I learned what I learned, and I was able to take it, learn it, and master it. Once after you learn, master, and learn it and master it, then you want to teach it and share it with someone else. Because closed hands don't do anything. But if you open your hand and share, I would tell my younger self to share with your neighbor. The best compliment ever is someone launching a business because you shared. Knowledge is power. That's what I would tell my younger self. Share, open, and learn, and master each.
Well, thank you, ladies. And again, you are masters in your own rights. So my hat is off to each of you. And so because you are masters, my next question would be, what knowledge would you give to the next generation of women?
I'd like to go. I concur with the ladies previously when we talked about education. If I had to do all over again, I would tell the next generation, make sure that you get your education. A lot of times people think education, oh, it's not necessary. There's no jobs out here. The world is doing A, B, C, and D. But again, as I stated earlier, knowledge is power. Get your education, no matter how long it takes, stay in school and get that degree. And because it is a masterful tool that will help set the foundation for your business and in your life. That's what I would tell the next generation. Thank you, Dr. Michelle Outlaw.
I think I would say learn the power of collaboration. I was always someone who felt like I could do it myself. I didn't want to bother anyone. I was always the one who would volunteer the help, and asking for help was the hardest thing. And as a matter of fact, I went into business because other people asked me to help them realize or expand their dreams. And when I was in the Caribbean and I was asked to start this cardiac stroke and physical rehab center, I was like, I don't know anything about that. I'm a nurse, but I don't know anything about that business. So I took the time, and this is what I would say, take the time to do that research you've been talking about. I was able to come to the state of North Carolina to get their rules and regulations to know what would be required, because North Carolina is one of the toughest states in the country as far as rules and regs for businesses, especially in healthcare. And so I learned what the rules for North Carolina were. And so it was easier to do it anywhere else. And then I went to a doctor in Florida who was one of the best rehab specialists, who, instead of operating on everyone's back and doing back surgery, he figured out that if you did this thing, which is basically exercise people for 2 full weeks before surgery, 80% of them didn't need surgery. So then my business had a different slant. Also, people poured into me because I was so physically far away from them. They would not feel that I was competition. So if there's something that you want to do that is different, you might not want to be learning as much from the person next door as the person on the other side of the country or the other side of the world, because they may not feel like you would be in direct competition with them. It's not to say don't get everything you can from the people who are on this panel and others, but if there's someone in, say, Sweden who wants to do what you want to do, there are even funds available for international partnerships for women or multi-state partnerships. So don't limit yourself and don't be afraid.
And I would say the same thing, get your certification. In any industry that you go in, there's always a certification. There's always a class that you can take. And you should take it, because at any given time, if you're in business and you're really doing business, somebody might come up to you and cite you on something. And if you don't have your certification or you don't know the knowledge, you can just lose money just because you don't know, what they're talking about. You can, as a business owner, you can know how to do the craft all day long. You can know how to do it in your sleep. But at some point, just like you need a business license, just like you need driver's license, you need some type of certification. You need some type of license to say that I'm an expert in this, and that's where your credibility comes. And that's when you can ask for what you are worth. So I would say, go and get your education, get your certifications, keep up with your certification, do the continuing education, do the training, collaborate, don't be afraid to collaborate, and make sure that you are worth what you are hired for.
I agree with all. And to bring it all together, I think what I would share is to do all of that you all have suggested, but let's not forget that our image matters. That's what I talk about, I believe in. I've seen transformations when we are mindful and intentional on that. And what I mean by that is, show up, be mindful of how you show up, how you behave, how you make people feel, how you effectively communicate. You never know who's watching, and to be able to do all these things that these amazing women have mentioned, it's your image is going to be highly prioritized in people collaborating with you and doing business with you. So let's not forget that. Statistics says that 55% people judge you from your appearance, 38% is from your tonality, and 7% is from your effective communication, the words that come out of your mouth. So image matters. So be mindful of how you show up, and still you can be authentic in your own way of doing that, your uniqueness, but you can also be aware of your next level that all of us have the opportunities to do. So that is what I would say.
I would also say that, I'm sorry, I would also like to say that be careful of when you think you're going to give up, because many times that breakthrough is right there, that you're just thinking, I don't have it in me anymore. When I was working on my second master's degree, because somebody was telling me I needed a different one to do what I was doing. And I just thought, I cannot go to class another day. I was teaching full time as a professor and working on my second master's at the same time, and just thinking, no, I'm done. I think I'm all right. I already have a great job. But I pushed through, and someone poured into me. Someone did the watering just to say, you are too close. I was in the last semester. Think about that. And I thought, I can't do it another day. And I've seen people who, because they were undercapitalized, wanted to give up on their business. And sure enough, then what they needed came through, or would have come through, or someone came looking for them 3 months later just to say, oh my God, I've been trying to find you. Maybe they did not present themselves in such a way that they could be found. Maybe they did not have the information out there for marketing, et cetera. They weren't visible, and therefore they were invisible. And the other thing is, go to things, go to Chamber of Commerce, Black Chamber of Commerce, every women's meeting. The reason I became a professional speaker is because I spoke out about things that I believe. And at the end of a year of just speaking my mind, people started to say, well, what do you charge? And I was like, what? You gonna pay me? You've been telling me to shut my mouth all my life, and now you want to give me some money? I had to figure out what to charge. But the point is, I was respected for showing up, looking like I was supposed to be there, and speaking truth to power.
I wanted to add, if I may, to LaShonda, where she spoke about image, which is very powerful. So with that being said, as I tag team with her, you never want to over deliver or under promise. When you over deliver or under promise, one thing that will for sure happen, you will end up operating off of empty. Operating off of empty could be tiredness or fatigueness, and don't have enough go to go to the next. Or it could be you're operating off of empty and you look at that bank account and see that people don't pay you because you over delivered, you became short on something for lack of staff, lack of knowledge, or whatever. You know, that scripture says people perish for the lack of knowledge. So you want to make sure that you're very informed, as Diane stated, with the certifications, but make sure you put in the work of what you say you're going to do. That's what I would suggest to the next generation. And it's okay if you start small, just be great in that small space. But last but not least, whether a person gives you a dime or a cent or a dollar, make sure you always tell them thank you, because you want to thank them for the experience. My slogan or salutation on everything I send out, it always says, thank you for all that you do. The method to that madness is whether you insulted me or you blessed me, I want to tell you thank you, because that is my learning curve. That's my stepping stone. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, I've got to say thank you. The word of God says, in all things give thanks, for it is the will of God. So you want to always say thank you to whatever case it may be, because that's how your blessings flow. Attitude determines your altitude. So always tell people thank you. Never over deliver and under promise, and always produce what you say you're going to do. Thank you for the next generation.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you all so much. And I think you've answered it in one way, but I'm going to ask it in another way right now. Because this panel is dubbed as businesses that water other businesses, tell me or tell us how your business waters other businesses.
I'll start. I feel like, when women and men come to me in business and they want to get to the next level, the first thing that they usually come to me with is, I want to get my website right. I want to get my business cards. And again, as I've said, that it's other areas, it's those ABCs, your appearance, your behavior, your communication. Those things need to be intact before you set yourself. We talk about marketing so much, we always want to start with that. And so for me, watering other businesses, I feel like aligning them with the process to get them to where they want to be more visible in the workplace or in that space that they are, a target market that they are trying to attract. So again, just aligning the process and not just getting out there and not seeing results because they're doing something before the other thing that needs to be done. So
Yeah, I have been a mentor intentionally with some people, unintentionally with others, accidentally maybe. But what I do is talk to people at the level they're at and find other people who can pour into them. So financial stuff I've managed by hook and crook somehow, but that was not my area. But I soon found out that there's a Michelle Outlaw out there who knows the financial game. And so I will tell people who to connect with and really pour into them the understanding that you don't have to know everything. You just need to know the people who know everything and to capitalize on those results. Also, don't use and abuse people because it will come back and smack you upside the head. So take the time, as you said, to say thank you for all that you do. Because many of my friends who are successful, who are just mega successful, multi-millionaires, a couple billionaires, have said the thing that turns them off the most is the lack of that thank you that you talked about, that people feel like you should be giving to them because you've already made it.
Yes. And I would say, just like Ms. Daniel said, the gratitude is very, very important. And how I would water, I would tell, I mentor as well. And one of the things I always tell them, go and get some experience, some sweat equity, go volunteer at a place where it's doing exactly what you want to do so that you can learn the trade. You can be all dressed up with your business license, your business card, your storefront with no customers. You don't put half of your savings into getting set up. And then if the customer comes, you may not know how to execute properly because you're so brand new. So go out there and get some sweat equity. Go out there and volunteer. And just like you say, you make sure you deliver, be on time and deliver, and make sure you know your industry.
I would say how my business has watered other businesses and continue to do so. One is about network. So in the networking process, I'll give you an example. Our seniors had no clue as to how to operate Zoom. So there was a platform that was provided where I was able to teach a class and give some one-on-one training to a group of about 15, 20 seniors, and show them some hands-on experience of how to be able to connect and how they were able to respond and spotlight even and set their gallery views up and be able to put something in the chat and change their virtual backgrounds. And who knew senior citizens would be jumping in and doing that. And so that particular watering provided them to be able to attend services or visit services or wherever they might want it to go, and be able to interact and have a full understanding as to what to do.
Awesome, love it. So we're getting some great responses. I have a few questions from the audience. One of the questions, how did you know being a CEO is better than being a partner? How did you decide? And the person says, personally, I don't desire to be a CEO, but a partner is interesting to me. So can some of you speak to that? Because I know that some of you are CEOs in one side of your business and you may be a partner in another side.
I answered her directly, but to say it just depends. In some places, I want to be the boss because I know what I want to do and I don't want anybody telling me what I want to do. And the reason I'm an entrepreneur is because I have the right to do that. And the other times, I usually partner with someone who our skill sets either match or complement so that we can do things interchangeably. I can step out of one role and do the other and be confident that that partner is doing that thing that needs to be done. So it's just a question and part of your temperament and of the situation. If you find someone who is an absolute going to be the CEO, but you are that complementary person who can get a partnership out of it and not just a salary, that is not a bad thing at all.
I agree with Valda. I say in today's world and been in business for 38 years and experiencing it by myself and with partnership, I'm a collaborator. And as long as we have similar mindsets and wanting the same end goal, I think you can, again, water, as we're talking about, water more people's lives, doing it together than doing it by yourself. There's so many different moving parts in a business. And again, if you have that like mind with another partner, I would say my number one thing would be to partner. I've experienced both. But in today's world, if you would ask me to do it all over again or continue doing what I'm doing, I would say partnership. And I've been able to touch more people that way. I've been able to hear other perspectives. And I think that's so important. Kind of going back to what Valda was saying on an international level, I've just had that opportunity. I've partnered with someone from India, and I'm now teaching transferable skills, soft skills in India. And again, from a partnership, I'm able to touch more people than just by myself, probably some people I would have never met. So I would say just kind of keep an open mind and also how you feel about it. But again, both need to have definitely like minds to be able to reach that same end goal.
Thank you, ladies. At what point did you realize your business venture was a success? What does success look like for starting a business?
Okay, my first business where I didn't want to have a business, the first 6 months, I didn't make a dime. I had decided that the business would be like giving birth. I was giving it 9 months. And if the baby didn't walk on out screaming and crying, then I was moving on. And so in the 7th month, I was put in a situation where I made my first couple of dollars. And so I went the first year just trying to match my nurse's salary at the time of $32,000 a year. And by the end of the first year, I made $100,000. The second year, $1.7 million. And so that was success. But as I said, in the meantime, I ended up in the hospital, marriage fell apart, all sorts of things like that. So what is success? For me, ultimately, it was about being able to do something that I knew benefited me, but more importantly, benefited the people that I was serving. And secondarily, that I got the skill set and the human resources that allowed me to be able to go to sleep.
Absolutely. Okay, so as we wrap up, it's 8:29. Would anyone like to have any parting words before we wrap up?
I answered a couple of the questions that was asked of me in the chat.
Mhm.
But I would like to say, as we continue to flower and water each other, if you ever need my services, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Most of you know how to reach me, but I did put my information in the chat. And if I can do anything for you, please, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out to me. This was a wonderful opportunity, Dr. Michelle Outlaw. I thoroughly enjoyed this dialogue. I took quite a bit of notes. And so I look forward to the next and us connecting again. Thank you. And thank you to the support of the audience.
And if I can add, just build a network such as this. This platform is great. I see the synergy, and so I just advise everyone, whenever you again are connected with like minds, and you never know until you talk virtually or in person, take advantage to connect some kind of way and learn about other women and what we're doing. So again, so we can continue to water in different ways, whether it's on a professional or personal level.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for coming. This has been a great Women's History Month. So thank you for stopping by Charismata 365, where we float in our grace gifts. And I know each and every one knows on tonight why your businesses water their businesses. So thank you. And so I'm truly blessed. I've been honored. Next month is Financial Literacy Month. So come on back every Friday night in April so that you can get some financial tips, because here we have tips so that each and every person can float in their grace gifts. Remember, all the recordings are on Charismata 365, YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify pages. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact each and every one of us. Let me know, because these ladies are waiting. I need you all to support these ladies and their businesses. So have a great night, everyone, a better weekend, and remember to flow in your grace gifts.